this is my official audition for Magic School Bus Online School Edition. The only problem is because gender escapes me every single time. You got to call me the Frizz. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to allow Excel/Google Sheets to further drive me to the brink of it. Today, I'm going to figure out a question that people sometimes come into when they like a band. I found that this is the thing that happens for every genre when you're following a band or a group. But for the moment, as I am moving through the K-pop world, I'm going to apply this question and video to that experience. I'm going to answer a question that many K-pop consumers come into as they work their way through groups. Now, if you're confused about what's going on here and who the hell I am or where all this incoming data is coming from, you might want to check out this video. But if you don't have 25 minutes, that's perfectly fine. Let me very quickly explain it to you, but I do recommend watching it. In this video, I spent an entire month going through Monsta X's catalog, and I used Google Sheets/Excel in order to figure out my favorite song. It was incredibly long-winded. I did a PowerPoint just like this. I did 60 days of research. I pulled my friends into it. My friend Jay learned how buck wild I could get for data. I learned how far I could go for a bit, and you, my friend, learned that I have a forest in my backyard. It's not actually big, it's not a forest, it's just the way that the video is framed. In that video and in that project, I created this huge ass Excel sheet and made an even bigger problem for myself. If you'd like access to the sheet, you can find this video on my website, linked in the description box below. I put up a PDF, but if you'd like an access to the actual Excel sheet, please let me know. Just highly recommend watching that video because it's actually pretty. Now that I've reminded you of my dedication to bits, let's get back to the data that inspired this video and maybe many other videos coming from me. Oh, in creating a video essay, school essay, whatever, there's this thing that comes up sometimes. I'm sure you're familiar with this. When you're creating a data set, doing your field work, ethnographic work, and interviewing people, or just analyzing existing aggregated data, sometimes you find yourself answering questions that you didn't initially have. You find patterns, themes, and other questions when you're doing these things. You can sometimes have a data set that answers the following things, right? It answers the intended question or other questions and patterns, themes that arise during the process of you gathering the data, and also what your state of mind is, because everyone wants to know what my state of mind was when I was doing that Monsta X project. But that happened even more when I was specifically doing my sociology coursework, because get those 2 degrees, baby. Here's an example. In this search for what's your favorite color, you may intend to find out what people's favorite color is and if there's a color most favored by people. If your question isn't a sort of close-ended question where you only ask for the color and that only, you may end up with anecdotes accompanying why that color is someone's favorite color. So then you get answers to additional questions like, what are typical sources of people's favorite colors? Is there an association with gender and all of that stuff? So if your question isn't just straight up, what's your favorite color, and you're not specifically telling them that you only want them to say blue, you might get, my favorite color is blue because it reminds me of the ocean, and my parents and I used to go out and to a boat in an ocean all the time. Can't relate, not rich, but my favorite color is green. Now I know what you're asking. What does that have to do with this video? Well, when I created this data, my initial intention was to find my favorite song. So, in trying to figure out my next moves for any other videos that I was going to do, I realized that I haven't been able to escape the grip of that Excel sheet. I dream about it every night. Sometimes, once again, it runs around in our backyard, stands in the corner of my room like some sort of sleep paralysis. Someone on Twitter even mentioned my level of dedication to the bit, being outdoors, the PowerPoint, and etc. And whew, I can't believe I'm on Twitter again. Anyway, when I was looking at my data set, I realized the following thing. This Excel sheet can answer a lot of things, like what my favorite songs are for each person, the top arbitrary number of songs for each person, whatever, which album is my favorite for specific numbers based on the X markings, and my #1 song for each person. Okay, with all that crawling through my data, I realized that I could not only find my favorite song, but I could also do this. Hi, this is JD, and this is Letting Excel Tell Me Who My Bias Is in Monsta X. To find my bias, or yours if you're coming from the previous project and have done all of this, but if you haven't, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so we're going to do it in a less threatening way than the 1 month project, right? Because we already have all that data. So now we're just going to kind of scrape that data and take it easy, right? To do it, you're going to take every album/page and look at the member that has the most marks in their column and use that as a measurement. The basic gist is the member who has the most albums is your favorite/bias. Now let's get into this. I've excluded the names on this, but I think you can pretty much tell based on the row and the things I've yelled about the person. As an example, for this album, which is Take One, Are You There? I see that one column very obviously has a lot of X marks and comments. For this album then, this member is my favorite, and I will mark on a separate sheet of paper or document that this person is my favorite on this album, and so forth. Now, it is possible to have ties when you're doing your initial research. Ties are possible for each album and are okay. Ties only matter towards the end when you are trying to find the bias. For example, in this album, I noticed 2 people have the same amount of X marks on their columns. This is fine for the moment, and I ended up noting this album for both people. However, towards the end, once again, in this whole thing, it's possible to have multiple, but try to get one. In the event of a tie, let's say Hyungwon and Minhyuk have the same number of albums for you, and they are your top 2. Fantastic. But in the event of a tie, compare the comment enthusiasm for the people that have tied using the enthusiasm scale and prompt for the Likert scale that was in this project before. And what you're doing here is basically comparing the enthusiasm and using the prompt again between the members that have tied and figuring out which member you wrote more enthusiastic comments about and who you can confidently say the comments for this member are overall enthusiastic. Personally, I didn't have this problem, but if you do this and you do have this problem, that's what you should do. Now, with all that being said, my biases, just kidding. Let's talk about something first. Okay, does this matter in the long run? Will this person be my constant? Okay, let's talk. This result might not be what you want, and that's fine. Data evolves, obviously. You're a human being and your feelings change. The feelings you feel about a song in this Excel sheet might change as it grows, but this is just a document for the time, obviously. It's fun, just play along. It's taking a screenshot, a snapshot of your emotions at the moment, right? Second, this result is not forever. You can change your wants. This is, once again, just based off of some silly data that you might gather. Your comments on that day can impact your results. Again, it's a snapshot of that time. Does this mean that the people who don't have any results are your least favorite? No. Personally, when I did this, IM and Kihyun did not get any albums, but it doesn't mean that they're my least favorite, and I do not and will not use this as a way to do a ranking of members, because that's just, for me, very silly. Kihyun, to be honest, I was really shocked that I didn't at least end up with him in like some way, because I had such wild comments for him, because he's such a vocal powerhouse and it's like legitimately amazing. And also, if you saw my video on IM, you know that I am extremely fond of him in the way that I am fond of my younger brother. My brother is my favorite person in the world, second to my mom. So like, why didn't I get him, right? Also, for me, I'm not entirely comfortable having a bias. It's weird for me. I like it when people have it though, because they usually have these beautiful reasons and all that stuff. So I never hate it when other people do it. If you do it, I just hate it for me. I hate to see it. Yeah, I hate to see it when I have it. It's like, do parents have a favorite child? Yeah, they do, but like, okay, now let's actually do it. But before we do that, here's how that went, time lapse style. Let's go. Hello, in this time lapse, I'm going through the whole Excel sheet and I'm looking page by page, album by album, and then marking the individual member that has the most X's in their column. So for example, Take One, Are You There? WONHO has all the X's. Take One, Are You There is WONHO's album. And I keep doing that over and over for each album. Yeah. But for real now, after that analysis, my bias in Monsta X is hello, I'm an alligator. Yeah. That's right, fellas. Okay, now that we have scraped my data and you and I have realized that JOOHON is my favorite, let's have some questions and answers, right? Is this something I expected? Not really. Once again, I said like maybe like Kihyun, maybe Shonu, right? Maybe even like Minhyuk. My comments for those 3 people were insane when it comes to their singing, right? Is this something I'm happy with? Yes. Okay, it's a good choice. JOOHON is an amazing performer, singer, rapper, just all-around person. He seems to have really funny things on his mind all the time. So yeah, is this something that I'm going to proclaim? Am I all of a sudden going to be like, hi, my name is JT and I'm a JOOBEBE? Can you do that? Right. Okay. Now that I've answered those questions, here's some things that you might bring up, right? My JOOHON video. Is this really a surprise to you? You already made a JOOHON video specifically on JOOHON. That was made in the middle of this Monsta X project. I also made a WONHO video. I also made an IM video. Why were they my favorites, right? I also said some incredibly buck wild things about WONHO, specifically like his voice on like One Love. I was like, hello, is this really WONHO? Anyway, another thing is that you already seem like you like JOOHON. I do. Nice. Welcome. Hello. Welcome me into your loving arms, JOOBEBEs. Like seriously, musically and performance-wise, I can talk at length about all of them. Do I not seem like a weenie? Did my IM video not give off similar vibes? I don't know. Am I a JOOBEBE now? So, with all that being said, what does the data look like? Thank you so much for asking. Okay, this is what it looked like. But once again, these results are based on my comments at the time of listening to the albums. Also, when it came to finding out results and answers when you're looking for something else, just to tie it into the beginning of the video, here's something I also found. I found that my top 4 albums for Monsta X are the following. So it is All About Love, Fatal Love, Take 1, Are You There, and Take 2, We Are Here, right? My number 1 album for like 6 members is Fatal Love. And this might be impacted because this was the one I came in on, and when it comes to like this all 7 members, it's Take 2, We Are Here, which is like right and just, right? In conclusion, my college professors, I think, would love to throttle me, right? Like if they knew what I was doing here, they would be like, what are you doing? Making YouTube videos? Were you using your experience and everything that we've ever taught you to make Excel sheets where you talk about love? So you don't have a doctorate yet? Not even like master's? Like, just chill, okay? It's the pattern. In terms of the project, this was a whole lot easier than the favorite song project because it stemmed from that project, right? I can rely on the results when it comes to this, oddly enough, right? Also, my friend Jay made it so much easier when it comes to figuring out how to utilize the scale best. I love you, Jay. I can't do this, it hurts my fingers, right? There's no major analysis issues because the data analysis was easy as pie. So I really enjoyed this one. It wasn't as hard and it didn't like drive me into like some sort of level of fatigue. So that further concludes this whole thing. Once again, my name is JD and my biases. Myself JOOHONEY to the